What is up, my guys? I hope you all are doing very well today. My name is Grubs and I make Eternal Return content mostly for new players. If you are new, hello. If you are returning, welcome back to the channel. I remember being a brand new player and not really understanding what characters did what. ER does not have a system that allows you to break things down into different classes or different roles. And when you go to look at the character list, you can just see that there's 70 plus of them. They all have crazy descriptions. You don't know which ones are good for a beginner player, which ones are more advanced, which ones you're going to spend 2 months on and still do nothing with. And let's be honest, ER itself is a pretty complex game with a lot of nuances that you have to try to learn. So trying to tackle an advanced kit on top of it is going to be something near impossible. And the last thing that I want is for somebody to come to this game and to feel overwhelmed and then to quit it because they feel like it was impossible for them to learn everything. So what I have decided to do is break this down into 2 characters that you can look over and decide whether or not you want to play them depending on what role you want to play. So we are going to be talking about our tanks first, and hopefully this can help you get started if you don't know where to start. Do not worry, my sweet babies. I am here to break things down for you, and I am here to help you in any way that I can. So without further ado, let's just dive into it. Let's talk about the best tanks that I think you should try out if you're new to Eternal Return. Now, before I get into breaking down characters for you guys and giving you my recommendations, I do want to put a small disclaimer out there. I have come to find that there are a lot of very strong opinions as to what classifies as what. For example, you could be playing a dive bruiser that could sometimes be built as an assassin. There is a lot of variation when it comes to characters and their playstyles, and I am going to give you things that I think would translate well if you've played another MOBA before. So, if you are a veteran player and you disagree with it, that is fine. Please understand that I'm trying to just help out new players to the best of my ability, being somebody that just started the game a little while ago myself. So with all of that out of the way, we are going to get started with our tanks, and we're going to be talking about Alonso and Xiukai. Alonso is a character that has not only really good sustain, he's a brick wall, and he has a lot of CC, which is a really good entry-level tank, I feel, for other people to play. Obviously, 11 also does a lot of what this guy does, but a little bit differently, and I already talked about her in my support video, so I felt bad about double dipping with her again. But if you want a tank that's going to be very hardy, that is able to stick onto his opponents, I highly recommend you give Alonso a try. Alonso's passive is called Plasma Barrier. Alonso essentially gets a free CC shield. It comes back after taking 18 seconds of no damage. The other part of his passive is that when he immobilizes an enemy, he recovers HP per enemy hit. Alonso's Q is called Energy Punch. Alonso throws a magnetic punch forward, it deals damage, and it connects to an enemy that it hits. When Alonso is facing the connected target, his movement speed will increase, and performing a basic attack on the connected enemy, it will break the connection, dealing damage and stunning them. Alonso's W is called Bouncing Shield. He shields himself and blocks damage for a short period of time, also reducing the damage taken in front of him. The shield fires 5 waves, increasing in speed as the waves go on. You can choose to let all 5 waves go, or you can end it early, and when you end this skill, regardless of if you end it early or if you let it go on, you will do an extra little pop of damage at the end of it. Alonso's E is called All Attack. Alonso points his finger at a target, and after a moment of channeling, he will dash to them, dealing damage and rooting them in place. If the enemies dash outside of his circle before he finishes channeling, the dash will not go off. Alonso's ultimate is called Magnetic Field. Alonso stands in place, pulling enemies towards him as he does AoE damage, restoring health over time, as well as slowing people in the outer ring. The longer you channel, the more damage you deal, and the more health you will recover when the skill ends. You can also choose to end this early because he is immobile when he is channeling. As you can see, Alonso has really good engage and it has great sticking power when it comes to chasing down his enemies. On top of that, his AoE pull-in ult is absolutely huge, not only for sustaining himself, but also for pulling in enemies to allow your team to wombo combo against them. He's basically foolproof. There's no reason as to why you shouldn't try him if you are trying to break into the tank role and you want something very simple to kind of play while you are learning the rest of the mechanics of Eternal Return. If you want another tank that has a little bit more variety and on top of it has some great self-sustain and can also heal his teammates, then look no further than Xiukai. Xiukai has great engage. On top of it, his ultimate can do a lot of damage depending on if you want to build him spear or if you want to build him dagger. And by switching his weapons, he turns from being a very chunky, girthy tank to being a kind of dive assassin that does a lot of skill amp damage with his ultimate. Xiukai is actually a tank that I have in my rotation because I come to find that his sustain for his team is quite good, and on top of it, he can be a really strong force to be reckoned with. There have been a lot of situations where either myself or my teammates should have died, but I was able to get a clutch dumpling off, and they were able to pull through, and we were able to clutch the fight. So don't sleep on the fat man. He's got a lot of stuff going on in his kit, and he's also very beginner friendly. Xiukai's passive is called Juggernaut Chef. Food and beverages that he cooks are more effective because he's the best chef around. Anytime he cooks up a food that is uncommon or higher, it gives him a stack, which increases his health. You can get up to 100 stacks. Essentially, the higher the quality of food, the faster you get your stacks, so pay attention to what you are cooking and try to cook a lot of golds if you can. Taking Camping Guide as your augment is a really smart way to go about it because it ensures that when you forage, you get purple grade items, such as your sweet potatoes and your salmon. On top of it, you also get campfires in your inventory every night if you have space, which allows you to keep cooking and allows you to get your stacks much faster. Xiukai's Q is called Lost in the Sauce. Xiukai throws a sauce barrel in a targeted direction, dealing damage and slowing his enemies. The barrel itself leaves a pool in the ground when it connects, reducing movement speed as enemies pass through it. Xiukai's W is called Eat Up. Xiukai throws a dumpling at himself or his ally, healing them and increasing their defense. The recovery is based off of how many stacks of his passive he currently has. Xiukai's E is called Walk It Off. If you press E, Xiukai will slide on his walk in a direction, hitting the first enemy he encounters. He will then knock them up, and then you can use the second part of his E, which is called Heavy Meal. By pressing E again, Heavy Meal will slam his walk down on the ground, dealing damage and slowing enemies in an AoE effect. The great thing about Xiukai E is it goes through pretty much everything, so there's no reason as to why you can't get a really strong engage by using his E. Xiukai's ultimate is called Burnt to a Crisp. Xiukai emits flames in a cone shape in front of him for 3 seconds, dealing damage and slowing his enemies that gets hit by it. Xiukai is a really great tank with really strong engage. Like I said before, you can use his E to dive in on people, you can also use his Q to zone people out, and with his spear skill you can also push people back if you need to get some space for your allies. When it comes to playing tank in Eternal Return, I am always looking for really nice dives and ways that I can peel for my team. The most important part of Eternal Return is knowing who to target and how to juggle your enemies, that way that your team can stay alive and your damage can actually deal the damage that needs to be done. When it comes to playing tank, unfortunately, you do not have highest priority when it comes to the legendary materials that you can gather, so I focus on getting my chest piece and my arm piece first if I am playing a tank, but obviously think about what your character is, what they are trying to do, and what the unique passives are for certain items. For example, Bunny Hat, if you immobilize somebody, you get a shield. So if you're playing somebody like Alonso, you may opt to go for your Bunny Hat first versus going for your chest piece. I always think it's really wise for you to get familiar with your items, whether or not you understand all of them, that's not the most important part. You can go to dak.gg, and if you go and look at your character, you can see what other people are building as alternatives. Now, I do also not recommend that you go and make your own builds right off the bat. I see a lot of people doing this and I don't really understand why. There are people that have been playing this game much longer than you that understand the game to a level that you probably don't as a new player. Just follow what they've made, go ahead and use it. If you don't like the build path that you're on, go look for another build that probably has something a little bit different but will still be very effective. And that, my friends, would be the 2 tanks that I would recommend if you are a new player and you are trying to figure out what tank should I start with. They are both very straightforward characters, but I think that that's kind of the best thing for you if you are somebody just learning to play. If you want more complex characters, maybe I can come out with videos for that later. But let's be honest, if you're just starting and you're just trying to figure out where to go, this is probably the best place for you to start. If you liked the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, especially to other new players. I am going to be coming out with other roles as well. In fact, next week we're going to be talking about bruisers. If you think that there is another tank that I should have put in this list instead of these 2 characters, leave that in the comments. Let me know where you think I'm wrong. Let me know where you think I'm right. I am more than happy to have discussions, and I encourage a lot of open communication on my channel. This is my plug for the Discord because I do it every video. Come join the Discord. If you are a new player that doesn't know where you're going and you're trying to find a home, come join Eternal Connections. We have weekly events, we have monthly events. The monthly events are tournaments that you can be any rank, any type of player, and you can just come play. We have gotten a wide range of skill that has been coming to join, and on top of it, that's good because that means that if you have questions about the game, we have higher elo players that are there to help you learn. We have a very warm and loving community, and we're getting very close to almost 500 members, which is pretty exciting. So if you want to come and join us, think about it. But you should come and join us. Let's be honest. It's pretty fun there. And we all hang out and have a good time. And you get to hang out with me, which is really cool. I love having the chance to play with you guys. And it's amazing that I get the chance to do it on such a regular basis. And it is such an honor. So if you do choose to join, feel free to hit me up and we can play some games sometime. And if you feel so inclined, you can hit that subscribe button and then you can press that bell notification and you will get a notification every single time that I upload. I do upload pretty regularly on Saturdays. So if you want to keep up with that, yeah, go ahead and hit that button and I will see you guys all soon. And yeah, that's it. Bye.